Here's what Sir David Attenborough, and coaching have in common. The power of longevity. Sir David is 100 years old at this stage. Isn't that wonderful, by the way? Isn't it absolutely wonderful? And I'm sure everyone's familiar with Sir David's work. To see him still at 100 years old, energized and excited about what he does, which is to show us the natural world in such an incredible, iconic way. It really is someone special in many people's lives. And there is a real link between what Sir David does and coaching. And it's this, that longevity secret. It's the longevity secret of coaching that by and large gets ignored by far too many people. We have this pervading mindset in the Western world about you've got to work really hard and then retire. Retire all the time, isn't it? Like stay in jobs you don't like, stay in jobs that don't fulfill. You spend the bulk of the best years of your life doing something that doesn't light you up, that's not meaningful. So hopefully one day you can earn enough money to do nothing effectively. And then of course, what does that look like for a lot of people that do retire? In fact, they get sick because your central nervous system, I'm a big believer in this, your central nervous system doesn't know what you do for a living. It just knows the messages that you send it. And if it feels like it's been under attack forever and then suddenly you switch it off, and there's not a lot going on, I do have a broader vision for this as well in terms of evolution and our survival. Like your central nervous system needs to know that you're contributing in some way, because mouths to feed would have been really precious when we roamed our savannas, right? So why keep you around if you're not doing anything? I'm a real big believer in that. Why keep you around if you're not contributing in any way, shape or form, physically or mentally, to the tribe effectively, if you've just switched everything off? And I think that's why it's dangerous for a lot of people when they do retire. They just switch absolutely everything off. And I think their central nervous system gets that message, and sometimes it's the thing that makes people sick. You see it so often. However, that is just a Western construct, isn't it? Of work really hard, earn enough money, do nothing. Or live the life that you always wanted to lead. But how many people never make it there for whatever reason? Or they get there and then don't know what to do with themselves, feel lost drive, purpose. How many people sell businesses or retire and just have that complete sense of, who am I? I've got no idea. I've never done that exploratory work, and find themselves in really sticky situations. Whereas, let's look at coaching as a profession. Coaching as a profession, you never have to retire from. Never have to retire from it. Edith Eger right now, hero of mine, I think she's probably 99 at this stage, right? So just behind Sir David, still running 2-day coaching workshops. I mean, isn't that incredible? And the link here is this. Like, we love to learn from our elders, right? That's inbaked in the human psyche and soul, right? Our wise guide elders. And I would argue in the Western culture, they've been pushed out of our lives. Like, wind the clock back, a few thousand years and beyond, our elders would have been so valued in our societies for their wisdom. Whereas now they just get pushed out off to the knackers yard as soon as we can, anywhere near retirement age, even before that, leave it to the young ones. But the problem is young ones don't have our wisdom, right? That's why the young ones often make mistakes. Yet the value of really wise guides in our culture and society doesn't exist in a way that it used to. Often we're just sort of almost belittled in some way, and it's like, well, the younger people know what to do. No, they don't. They need their wise guides there. So I believe coaches, like our ancient philosophers, are the modern day wise guides, because we have the skill of understanding how brains work. We have the ability and the courage to keep showing up with that longevity in mind. We don't have to retire from coaching. Why would you retire from something that lights you up, that brings more meaning and purpose into your life, that adds value? Again, remember that central nervous system thing. The central nervous system constantly getting a message. You are contributing. You're adding to the tribe through your wisdom, through your intellect, through your courage to show up. And of course, on the adventure of coaching, you're constantly stretching yourself and growing and developing over time. And because that longevity secret runs all the way up to the day that you want to check out from this short and precious life, of course, none of us know when that's going to be. For some of us, it might be tomorrow, today, For others, it might be in 30 years' time. But if you take that longer view of coaching, it takes on a completely different shape. Whether you're thinking about training as a coach or you are a coach, like, one of the greatest things you can do is stay in it, because it will feed you with meaning and purpose and contribution, potentially for the balance of your time on this short and precious planet. And as a rally call to you all, we need more wise guides in our societies, in our communities, in our families. Not just elder people that are opinionated. There's lots of them. Lots of opinionated elders. Seneca talks about this, and I love it, and I'm going to massively paraphrase here. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher. He says that you can leave port, and we're talking about old age, and you can get caught in a storm, and that storm can throw you hither and thither, and you arrive back many moons later, and you haven't actually gone anywhere. You've just done a lot of tossing about, which makes me laugh, because I think that's a good description of many people that grow into old age. Basically saying old age doesn't give you anything, doesn't necessarily give you wisdom. You could have just got on that boat and just been thrown hither and thither and never actually gone anywhere. It's just a lot of tossing about. Versus those that go on real adventures, like real journeys, like of understanding themselves and others, and start to radiate a joy in a way they've never radiated it before, and are there to listen and not direct and be opinionated with no action. I think there's nothing more frustrating than keyboard warriors, or those that have got these, I think, elder opinions, assuming that there's real validity and weight to them because they've been on this planet a bit longer than other people, but they never turn it into action. It's just a glorified moan without any real substance behind it. That's not what I'm talking about. And I think that's what gives our elders a bad rap, because people are like, no interest in you. Versus, you know, those wonderful people in our network that just have that ability to listen and be there and ask great questions that light people up, that spark a joy all around them. That's a coach for me. That's a wise guide, a wise elder. And it's a skill we can drill and nurture and hone for the balance of our life. What a gift. What an absolute gift. And if that thing can also be something that generates the economics in our life, that allows us to lead the life we most want to lead, what a contribution. What a life worth living, is my opinion. Therefore, Sir David and coaching have so much in common, because what we also know is this. There's two types of intelligence. There's fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. Fluid intelligence is like your physical strength in many ways, which peaks around sort of 28, 30-ish, right? Makes sense. You look at a lot of the top athletes tend to peak around those type of ages. If you look at a lot of the great maths and physics breakthroughs, again, they tend to happen 28s, 30s, and then there's less of them as people age, right? Because that sort of fluid intelligence starts to decline. It's like a muscle that's declining as you age, right? And that's just part of the aging process. And of course, you can strengthen your muscles to stay fitter and healthier much longer, but effectively it is in decline. Same with your mind. However, crystallized intelligence, which is effectively your book of wisdom inside your mind, that intelligence starts growing. So if you can imagine, at the start of your life, it's not very high, and it almost catches up just at the moment your fluid intelligence starts to dip and decline. Your crystallized intelligence, if you can imagine, meets it and continues to rise and never stops rising. That's why David Attenborough is so appealing in his wisdom, that crystallized intelligence. That's why our wise guides and elders are so attractive in their wisdom, because of that crystallized intelligence. And it's the same for coaches. So you can hop on the crystallized intelligence curve and it never stops growing. Whereas so many people in their industry, in their careers, spend their entirety of those later years fighting that decline, fighting the younger people, trying to stay and cut it with the kids. When actually, by moving onto that different curve of crystallized intelligence, the kids can't catch you, because they haven't got those years of wisdom. They haven't got that wonderful energy that comes from being a wise guide elder. But that requires training. That requires us to do the work. Again, Age is not a definition of wisdom. It just means you've aged a bit. It's Seneca's, you've just been tossing around a bit, versus someone that's really done the work. And I think that's what coaching for me is. It's so much more than a skill to help others or to earn some income from. It's a philosophy for life that will allow you to be a wise guide in your networks, your families, your communities, your countries, and the world needs more of them. What an absolute gift. And all it requires from you is the courage to keep showing up. And I say that, the courage to keep showing up, because too many people give up on the edge of greatness. It's like really drilling this into your mind. What are you a coach for? And it's to serve others. And if you keep that in your crosshairs, it's much easier then to get over yourself and do the things you need to do, because it's not about you. It's about being in service of others. On that note, actually, just while I'm here, I've got this great book in front of me. It's called I Believe in You by Carl Elliott, one of the brilliant coaches that I've trained that's been in my world for many years in our MBA, our marketing course at the moment. And I'm just looking at his book thinking, what a gift to the world. Like the courage it takes to write a book, for example, and put that out into the world, and how many people that's going to inspire. How cool is that? So if you're feeling remotely inspired after listening to this and you're new to coaching, you can go to coachbusiness.score and do one of our full diplomas that takes you from beginner to expert. We have 2 diplomas, one in positive psychology and one in alcohol-free performance coaching. And equally, if you're a qualified coach, we now have 3 specialisms that you can come and train with us in: positive psychology, performance coach, alcohol-free performance coach, and ADHD focused coaching, as well as our MBA, which is all about marketing and business of coaching. So if any of those spark an interest, go to coachbusiness.score. And I shall see you soon. Keep coaching. Your coach, Andy.